Hello and welcome back to Reason News, your dose of current events and reasoned analysis. We begin today with a developing story out of China, where health officials are grappling with a surge in cases of a human metapneumovirus, or HMPV. South Africa's Matric class of 2024 has defied the odds and attained the highest pass rate in the country's history. Firefighters race to contain raging wildfires before winds are expected to pick up again in Los Angeles. President-elect Donald Trump has been sentenced in the New York criminal hush money case, but in a surprising twist, he faces no penalties. And lastly, we take a look at the world of sport. HMPV is a common respiratory virus that typically causes mild cold-like symptoms. However, it can be more serious in young children, older adults, and people with weakened immune systems. This outbreak in China is raising concerns due to the sheer number of cases and the potential of the virus to spread internationally. Hospitals in several Chinese cities are reportedly overwhelmed with patients suffering from respiratory illnesses, many of them children. While the Chinese government has not officially confirmed the extent of the outbreak, social media is flooding with images and videos of crowded hospitals and anxious patients.
Chinese hospitals are being overwhelmed with what's being called a mysterious viral outbreak, and it's drawing comparisons to the early days of the COVID-19 pandemic. The CDC is now actively monitoring reports from overseas, while the U.S. is also seeing a slight increase in cases of the HMPV virus. Senior correspondent Brian Enton is live now with more on this. Brian, what do we know about this, quote, mystery virus?
Well, Nicole, anytime something like this pops up in China, for obvious reasons, we all get a little bit worried. The CDC says they are keeping track of a rise in HMPV in China, and that the U.S. has also seen an increase in cases. Now, HMPV, it stands for metapneumovirus. Chinese media is reporting more cases among children 14 and under. Now keep in mind, this is Chinese state media that's coming out with these reports, so it's unclear exactly how accurate the numbers really are. Obviously, we know we can't fully trust everything that comes out of the Chinese media. The CDC says the numbers in America remain at pre-pandemic levels, which is a good thing. In a statement to News Nation, the CDC says they are aware of reported increases of HMPV in China, and they're in regular contact with international partners and monitoring reports of increased disease. These reports are not currently a cause for concern in the U.S. That's according to the CDC. They go on to say we can expect that existing surveillance systems will rapidly detect any increase in HMPV cases in the U.S. CDC will continue to monitor and provide important updates to the public. Now, HMPV, it's got similar symptoms to the common cold: cough, fever, congestion, runny nose, shortness of breath. Most kids get the disease by the time they are 5, but it does cause some hospitalizations. That's the reason this is a concern. 20,000 kids end up in the hospital with it every year, and it can be very dangerous for very, very young kids, for babies, and also for the elderly. There is no cure or vaccine for the disease right now, but there are pharmaceutical companies working on a vaccine, and obviously everybody's keeping an eye on exactly what's happening in China.
This outbreak comes as the world is still recovering from the COVID-19 pandemic, and it serves as a stark reminder of the ongoing threat posed by infectious diseases. Health officials around the globe are closely monitoring the situation in China and taking steps to prepare for a potential spread of HMPV. We will continue to follow this story and bring you updates as they become available. Back home, in a remarkable achievement, South Africa's Matric class of 2024 has defied the odds and attained the highest pass rate in the country's history. Despite the challenges posed by the COVID-19 pandemic, these students have demonstrated incredible resilience and determination. The national pass rate stands at an impressive 87.3%, a significant improvement from the previous year's 82.9%. This success story is a testament to the hard work and dedication of the students, their teachers, and their families. It also highlights the positive impact of various interventions and support programs implemented by the education sector.
To 91%. Excitement as the Matric class of 2024 delivered a historic performance, the best since democracy.
It's seeing also the closing of the gap between quintile 1 to 3 schools and the quintiles 4 and 5. I think previously you would have seen that most of the top achievers would obviously come from quintile 4s and 5. And now we are seeing the system producing quality across the board. And we are seeing that almost 500,000 of our candidates who worked this year were recipients of the child grant, which tells you which columns they're coming from. But yet, here they are, and they sit there, part of the top achievers. They're doing amazing work.
The class of 2024 entered grade 8 in 2020 and faced the devastation of the COVID-19 pandemic. Despite this, they rose against adversity as nearly half of the matriculants received bachelor passes. They also achieved over 319,000 distinctions.
It's not just only a high percentage pass rate in Matric. You also have to look at things like bachelor passes. And 2024 class actually has been excellent. Almost 50% of all candidates in this year obtained bachelor passes. That is a marker of success. Regardless of how you look at it, that is an excellent result. Also, considering the fact that over 70% of our candidates will be eligible to go to an institution of higher learning, whether it be a university or a university of technology. And that, again, is an indicator of quality. But I must indicate that there are places where I am concerned. I am concerned about the uptake of maths and science. I remain concerned about the distinctions in that field, and also the uptake around accounting, because these are gateway subjects, and these are subjects that are desperately needed in the economy.
Meanwhile, the Director General for Basic Education says the excellent Matric results in 2024 will benefit the class of 2025.
Improvements in education take time, and I'm pleased and humbled that our nation has been very patient with us. For 30 years, there was no hope for improvement. Now, the foundations laid by people who established the department, like Professor Bengu, Professor Kada Asmal, Minister Naledi Pando, Minister Motsecha, those results are beginning to show phenomenally in the manner that we never imagined.
While we celebrate this milestone, it's important to acknowledge that challenges remain. But the Free State Province leads with a pass rate of 91%, while the Northern Cape shows the most significant improvement. However, disparities persist, and efforts must continue to ensure quality education for all learners, regardless of their background or location. The success of the Matric class of 2024 is a beacon of hope for South Africa's future. It demonstrates the potential of our youth and the power of education to transform lives. As these graduates embark on their next chapter, we wish them all the best in their future endeavors. Now, moving abroad, a tense situation is unfolding in Los Angeles as firefighters race against time to contain raging wildfires before winds are expected to pick up again. The fires, fueled by dry conditions and exacerbated by strong Santa Ana winds, have already scorched thousands of acres of land, forcing evacuations and threatening homes. Thousands of acres have already been consumed by the flames, leaving a trail of destruction in their wake. Homes have been reduced to smoldering rubble, and families have been forced to flee for their lives. Hundreds of firefighters are working tirelessly on the ground and in the air, battling the flames and trying to establish containment lines. The situation remains volatile, with the risk of the fires spreading further as winds are predicted to intensify.
This morning, those whipping Santa Ana winds making a return. In the coming days, wind gusts expected to reach up to 70 miles per hour as the Eaton and Palisades fires broaden their footprint. Officials say the death toll has now reached 24 and still expected to climb. We traveled with CAL FIRE to the top of the now charred Temescal Canyon to see how crews are making critical progress as they battle the blaze. This massive burn scar is helping block the flames from reaching nearby communities, but the threat is not over.
We're down here by one of these hot spots on the canyon. You can see it bubbled up really quickly, but luckily there's an airdrop just above us. They're going to try to attack it from above.
Choppers with long line buckets carrying hundreds of gallons of water, and on this drop, bullseye.
That's why these airdrops are so critical, attacking these fires from above. With machinery and aircraft like that, that's how they can make progress and get ahead of the fires.
Crews acting fast to put out active flames.
The other concern is not only this fire, but new starts, where it's going to go, how do we respond?
And as the fallout continues, the LA Fire Department chief publicly saying they needed more support before the fires broke out.
Did we have enough resources? I will tell you no.
Mayor Karen Bass said any budget cuts didn't affect the response.
The fire chief and I are focused on fighting these fires. Any differences that we might have will be worked out in private.
It comes as Governor Gavin Newsom calls for an investigation into water supply issues on the fire's front line. The governor speaking out on Meet the Press.
What are the questions that you're hoping to answer?
The same ones you're asking, same ones that people when I'm in the streets are asking, yelling about. What the hell happened? What happened to the water system? Was it, and by the way, was it just overwhelmed, or were 99-mile-an-hour winds determinative, and there was really no firefight that could have been more meaningful?
Now, 6 days after the Palisades fire first began, the massive inferno is still gaining new ground. The National Guard tapped to slow the spread. Aerial efforts hampered by unauthorized drones, including one that punched this hole in a Canadian super scooper. The FBI now investigating.
Authorities are urging residents in affected areas to remain vigilant, heed evacuation orders, and take necessary precautions to protect themselves and their property. The cause of the fires is currently under investigation. Mandatory evacuations are in effect for several communities in the fire zone. Emergency shelters are overflowing with displaced residents, many of whom have lost everything. The Red Cross and other relief organizations are on the ground providing food, water, and other essential aid. Investigators are still working to determine the cause of devastating fires. Dry conditions and high temperatures have created a tinderbox-like environment, but officials believe human activity may have had played a role. Now, President-elect Donald Trump has been sentenced in the New York criminal hush money case, but in a surprising twist, he faces no penalties. Let's break down this unprecedented situation. Trump was found guilty on 34 felony counts of falsifying business records related to hush money payments made during the 2016 campaign. Despite the guilty verdict, the judge imposed no jail time, fines, or other penalties on the incoming president. The judge cited concerns about interfering with the incoming administration and potential constitutional issues surrounding punishing a sitting president.
10 days before his inauguration, Donald Trump heard his sentence in his hush money case. And despite no punishment, he plans to fight the case. ABC's Aaron Katursky has more on the day in court. So, Aaron, this means that chapter's not over yet.
It's not quite over, but it's mostly over now, Rihanna. 9 days from now in Washington, Donald Trump's going to take the oath of office for a second time, but his sentencing here in New York means he will be carrying a new distinction: the first president to enter the White House as a convicted felon. This morning, President-elect Trump is sentenced but not punished for falsifying business records to hide from voters a 2016 hush payment to adult film actress Stormy Daniels. Judge Juan Merchan handing down an unconditional discharge. No prison time, no fine, no probation, calling it the only sentence he could impose without encroaching upon the highest office in the land.
To be clear, the protections afforded the office of the president are not a mitigating factor. They do not reduce the seriousness of the crime or justify its commission in any way.
Trump listened remotely, his face on courtroom screens. He declared his innocence and vowed to appeal.
It's been a political witch hunt. It was done to damage my reputation so that I'd lose the election, and obviously that didn't work.
Prosecutors said Trump was convicted based on overwhelming evidence.
Far from expressing any kind of remorse for his criminal conduct, the defendant has purposefully bred disdain for our judicial institutions and the rule of law.
Trump faced up to 4 years in prison, but the judge said the minimal sentence was due to the unique and remarkable set of circumstances. He left Trump with this parting message.
Sir, I wish you Godspeed as you assume your second term in office.
Now, if Trump were not about to take office again, he might have been sentenced differently, but the judge said he really had no choice because of the protections afforded to the office of president, and he noted the citizenry decided Trump should receive the benefits of those protections once again. And with this sentencing, guys, Trump's once formidable seeming legal troubles now end with a whimper.
Trump has claimed vindication, calling the case a witch hunt and stating the lack of penalties proves his innocence. Many legal scholars are questioning the decision, arguing it sets a dangerous precedent for future cases involving high-ranking officials. With Trump set to take office, both supporters and critics are grappling with the implications of a president entering office with a criminal conviction. Questions remain about how this conviction might impact Trump's presidency and whether it could lead to impeachment proceedings. As we approach Inauguration Day, the nation is left wondering, what does this mean for the future of American democracy and the rule of law? What do you think about this unprecedented situation? Let us know in the comments below. Now, in the world of sport, Wales coach Warren Gatland said he knows his job is on the line after naming a six-nation squad he hopes will end the national side's record-breaking losing streak. An organizer's error in the driver's route guide caused chaos at the Dakar rally on Sunday as cars went off the route into the vast Saudi Arabian desert in a blunder blasted as a disaster by a former champion. Indian batsman Shreyas Iyer has been named captain of the Indian Premier League team Punjab Kings for the upcoming edition of the lucrative T20 tournament. 10-man Manchester United beat Arsenal 5-3 on penalties after a dramatic 1-1 draw in the FA Cup third round, while Tottenham Hotspurs needed extra time before seeing off non-league Tamworth 3-0 on Sunday. And that brings us to the end of today's Reason News. So we'll continue to monitor these stories and bring you the latest developments as they unfold. Remember to subscribe to our channel for more in-depth coverage and analysis. Thank you for watching. Until next time, stay informed and stay curious.